Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and we're doing yet another pickup video, the first one in 2024, and yet all the stuff I'm talking about here was stuff that I bought in 2023 at the end, because, well, I've just been really busy and I've been wanting to work on other things, and besides, working on these pickup videos is not really a whole lot of effort, to be honest. They're very simple and easy to do, but I have fun doing it, and of course, you know, I like talking about these certain things, and yada yada yada, you know, you've all been here before. So, let's just get right to it. Alright, so first off with the video games, we do have a fair amount here, more than I've been getting in the last couple of ones there, and this one right here happens to be Sonic Superstars, and I put this reverse cover on because I really love this old style cover art. And also, like, the spine is really different too. I don't know how well you can see it, but it definitely does not look like a Switch cover. And, yeah, also another part I like too is that, the little barcode here is, like, cut out with, like, the characters. I thought that was actually kind of fun. But, yes, so, yes, I bought this, and I did not buy Mario Wonder. I know, blasphemy, right? But honestly, this game actually kind of fascinated me a bit more, I'm not gonna lie. It actually looked like they added a bunch of different stuff that they never done in a Sonic game before. Like, for one, you can actually do multiplayer, so, you know, playing like two players at the same time in a 2D Sonic game is really cool. Plus, there's a lot of unique power-ups that you can get, which are actually pretty fun to mess with. And of course, the level design in this game is actually quite good. And I actually like what I played of it. Now, of course, when I played this game, I kind of took a break from it because I wanted to make that Sakura Wars review, so ever since then, I haven't gone back to it since, but from what I played of it, I definitely do like it quite a bit. I don't think I would say it's as good as Sonic Mania, but I do think for a new, like, Sonic game, like, from, like, you know, Sonic Team themselves, yeah, I actually like it quite a bit. I actually think it's pretty damn enjoyable. Alright, and next up here we have an RPG, and that happens to be The Legend of Heroes Nayuta, Boundless Trails. So yes, this is actually, it's like sort of related to the Trails series. It's kind of like an offshoot spin-off. I don't think it's like fully connected to it. I could be wrong off that because it's been a while since I looked up stuff on this game, but the one thing I do remember about it was that this game originally was a PSP game that was Japan only. And then they got a remaster of it, and they actually brought it in English for us, which is pretty great. I'm always happy when stuff like that happens. I feel like that happens a lot more now than it did back then. But, yes. But this one, unlike the other Trails games, is actually more of an action RPG, and it actually looks like a good one, too, from what I've seen. And I like the graphics in it, and also the music is also really awesome from the little I've heard. But, yeah, I haven't actually played it just yet, though, but hopefully this year I definitely will. Even though I should definitely try to get back into the Trails series, because I kind of took a break off of them after I was, like, playing them, like, once a year, but, Alright, next up, we got ourselves yet another RPG, and similar to the other one we just talked about, this is another one that was Japan only for a while, but then we actually got it over here, and that happens to be Rhapsody. But this one is a collection of Rhapsody 2 and Rhapsody 3. Now, there is a first one, and we actually did get the original one on PS1 back in the day. It was published by Atlas, and it was called Rhapsody the Musical Adventure. And I do remember playing that game years ago on an emulator, and I remember thinking the game was, like, kind of, like, very lighthearted, very cute, and, you know, very happy looking. But I do remember the music in it being, like, really damn good, which, I mean, for a game called Rhapsody the Musical Adventure, I guess you kind of should expect the music to be decent, right? But, yeah, but no, this one comes with 2 and 3, which, like I said, I believe, like the original versions, like, we never got them back then, but now we do. And I think there is a remaster of the first one as well, but I just got this collection of 2 and 3 because, well, fuck it, why not? But I will definitely play through the first one, though. And the good thing about these games is that they are very short. Like, all 3 of these games are less than 20 hours long, so that's actually pretty good on that. And, yeah, also, I do like the little reverse cover art they got here, and yes, they even have a little bit of an art book here. Hopefully you can see that well, but, yeah, kind of cool that this game actually has, like stuff like that, because, you know, it's kind of a rarity that we do nowadays. But, yeah, like I said, if you want some short but sweet RPGs that are very lighthearted, these look like they would be good for you for that. Alright, next up, we have yet another RPG, but this is a little different one, and this one happens to be Mercenaries Rebirth, Call of the Wild Lynx. Yeah, interesting title. But we'll just call it Mercenaries Rebirth, because, you know, it's easier to say and remember. But yeah, so this is a strategy RPG, so, you know, obviously kind of grid-based, lots of different classes to pick from. And unfortunately, I've also never played this yet. And this is a game that, I'll be honest, I kind of just bought this blindly because it was on sale, and I thought, like, the cover art looked cool, and from a little I saw the screenshots, I looked like, oh, you know what, that looks like it could be a decent, like, tactical RPG, so I figured I might as well pick it up. So, if any of you guys actually know anything about this, let me know. But from what I've seen of it, though, it actually does look like it would be like a pretty cool one to just kind of just pick up and play every once in a while. But yeah, like I said, I wish I could talk more about it. Alright, and as for the final game in here, we have is a limited edition, and that belongs to Dusk Driver 2. So, this is a game that I've seen around for a while, and I always thought it looked interesting, but I just, you know, never got around to actually, like, picking it up and looking into it too much. But the things that I do know about it is that it is a hack-and-slash game, and apparently it has some, like, 3D platforming parts, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And I've also heard, too, that, like, I don't think you need to play, like, the first one in order to play the second one. You can kind of just, like, you know, go wherever, which I guess is fine. So I was like, okay, I'll just buy 2 because it was there, and, you know, they didn't have the first one, and, well, I was like, fuck it, why not? But, yeah, this collector's edition does come with some cool things. Like, it comes with a soundtrack, an art book, and, you know, like, the usual stuff. But, yeah, no, like I said, I thought this looks like a pretty cool game. Hopefully I'll try to get around to playing this somewhat soon, and, you know, hopefully I can talk to you guys more about it at some point. Alright, and next up we're going to be talking about some movies and anime, because yes, I did get 1 live-action movie, and I got 2 anime DVDs. And I will go and say right now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be adding in any CDs here, because, well, I didn't really get much, and the 2 I did order, like, they haven't came in yet, and I didn't feel like waiting for them to come in, so I figured I might as well just record this now. The 1 live-action movie that I did get happens to be Bullet Train on Blu-ray. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, there is a movie that came out recently called Bullet Train, and it was, I think it had Brad Pitt in it. But the thing is, I don't know if that movie's like a remake, or it's like related to this, or just some random-ass movie with the same name, but pretty much though, this movie came out in the 70s, and it is a Japanese movie, and the thing that's interesting is that the concept is basically like the movie Speed that came out in the 90s with Keanu Reeves, but obviously this came out first, and I'm sure that movie was probably, like, this movie was a huge influence on that one, I'm sure, but yes. Obviously, if you know what Speed is, you know, it's about the bomb on the bus. Well, this one, yeah, pretty much the same thing. A bomb on the train, and if the train goes, like, a certain speed, it will blow up and kill everyone on it. And, of course, there's people out there trying to, like, solve, like, the problem kind of thing. But it's really, really fucking good. I actually watched this recently for the first time, because I always thought the idea of this movie was interesting, because I was always like, oh, hey, a movie that's, like, sort of like Speed, but it came before it? Like, fuck yeah. And yeah, I ended up really liking it. Lots of really good characters. The actors are really good in Japanese, because I watched it with the, you know, in that language. They also do have an English dub version of it, but, you know, I feel like with live action, I feel like it's really hard doing, like, dubs for live action, because it's harder to get the lip movement, because you can't just, like, edit, like, the lip flaps. It's a lot harder to do, but no, I actually thought it was really, really good, and also I love the cinematography as well. It's always really cool seeing, like, cinematography in, like, old, like, movies from, like, foreign countries that you've never been to before. It's just so interesting to me. But yeah, really good movie. I'd highly recommend it. Like I said, if you love the movie Speed from the 90s, I think you definitely need to watch this one. Alright, next we have the anime DVDs, and we got 2 of them here. And the first one here is actually one that I've reviewed, so I probably won't, like, go on and on and on about it here since I've done a whole video on it, and that happens to be Requiem from the Darkness. Yes, this was one of the animes that I reviewed in my horror feature, and I loved it to death. I mean, clearly, given I bought a physical of it, I mean, I had to have, right? But yeah, so I love this anime series, really good. It was really short with 12 episodes, but it was, like, really fucking good. And I loved it. Love the animation a lot. Like, I can gush about that, like, all day long. Like, it's very unique looking. Has, like, it almost kind of, like, looks like Caligari. Like, you know, everything's all, like, wavy looking and very, like, Tim Burton-esque, but it's anime and it's awesome. And yeah, it's really, really good. Like I said, I've done a whole video on it, and yeah, like I said, I can just gush about it. I think it's very, very underrated. Alright, and as for the last anime film that we have here, this one is one that I haven't seen yet, but I always thought it looked really cool, and that is Key the Metal Idol. Yeah, that's kind of a badass name. Key the Metal Idol. It's like, she's metal! Okay, so what this one is about that I thought was really cool about it is that, it's basically about this girl who's a robot, and every year on her birthday she gets like a new, like, robotic body part kind of thing. And then once her creator is about to die, he tells her that, that she actually has a chance at becoming human, and she has to, like, do all these certain tasks in order to become human. And the thing that's interesting with this is that it is a OVA series, but yet it has, like, 13 episodes, which, you know, normally for an OVA, that, you know, that's just a normal anime series, but for 13 episode, like, OVA, that's kind of a lot for an OVA, so I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, the animation looks really cool, I love the art style a lot, and funny enough, there was a meme that actually came out from this anime series. It was the one that went, like, the same meme template, but it came from an obscure forgotten anime. I'll probably show a picture of it there. But yeah, that screenshot, that meme there, yeah, that actually came from this, and that's actually kind of how I knew about it. But yeah, no, like I said, it always looked really good. In fact, I've even thought about covering it on the channel, and hopefully I can do that sooner or later. Alright, and now we're moving on to the manga and books section, and yes, I've gotten quite a lot. I kind of splurged a bit over the holidays, so let's just get right to it. So first up here we got is one of my favorites I finally found more volumes of, and that is Monster. I got volume 4 and 5. Almost done collecting the whole series, there's 9 in total, so I'm very close. And yeah, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but on the covers, as you can see here, yeah, they actually do kind of go together if you like put them all in order, which I think is really awesome. But yeah, I've been talking about it a lot on this channel, so I assume you already know what it is, and well, yeah, I won't talk your ear off about it again. And next we have more volumes of Fist of North Star, being 9 and 10. And I believe there is only one volume left, and that'll be the whole first arc of the series, so that's actually fucking great. So once I get that last volume, I will definitely binge read this whole thing, and it'll be great. And the next one we have here is quite possibly one of the craziest shits I've ever read, and that is Innocent from Shinichi Sakamoto. And like I just said, this shit is insane, but man, it's really fucking good. So to sum up this one, it is a historical fiction where it takes place in France, taking place before the French Revolution, and it stars the family called the Sanson family, who were very famous executioners. So the main character of this one is the oldest son of Charles Henry Sanson, who is an actual guy. And his son is unlike the other members of the family because he's probably the most normal one, because all the other members of the family are complete psychopaths. So the oldest son has to take over at being the new executioner, and it's clearly not in his nature to just kill people for a living, even if they are criminals. So the situation that he's in is very interesting, and yeah, I really like it a lot. Like, I can definitely say, this first volume of the Omnibus Edition, very damn good. I'm definitely loving it a lot. Can't wait for volume 2. And also I have to mention too, but the art style in this book is just incredible. Like, I'll just show you just one example here just to show you how good the art style is, and yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. But of all the great things that I'm saying about this so far, you'd be thinking that I would highly recommend it, right? Well, unfortunately, this book is going to be really hard to recommend because of two major things. The first thing I have to say is that this book has a lot of disturbing content in here that I know most people are not going to be happy with reading about, so unfortunately I can't go into detail about that because it is kind of spoilery, but I will just warn you all that saying that yeah, there is some pretty fucked up things that do happen within this one. And the second thing I have to bring up is that the blood and the gore in this one is just absolutely insane. And it's done in a very realistic way, so it's not like Genocyber where it's just over the top to the point where it's very unrealistic and maybe slightly cartoonish, where here, nah, it's very realistic. Like, just to give you one example, and don't worry, I won't spoil anything. So there is a scene where they do cut open a dead body, and you actually see, like, all the insides from them. And with what I said about the art style being super amazing and well detailed and all that like awesome stuff, yeah, he did not slow down when it came to drawing like the blood and guts. And a lot of times it almost looks like you're looking at an actual photograph in an autopsy. It's very disgusting. So yes, if you can't handle blood and gore, you're not gonna have a good time with this. But aside from these two warnings that I mentioned though, I do think it is really damn good, so if you do love historical fiction, and you do love this graphical art style, and you're perfectly okay with all this like crazy stuff that I've been mentioning, then yes, I think it is worth a read. And next up we got is one that's been a long time coming for me, and that happens to be Uzumaki from Junji Ito. Yes, I finally started reading one of his works after all this years of knowing about it. And what's funny too is that every time I always mention to people that I love like horror stuff and I love like anime stuff, people always assume that I'm like a huge Junji Ito fan even though I never read any of them. But now that has definitely changed because I finally read this whole thing. And I could say that it was pretty good. Yeah, I enjoyed it, I liked it, but I will be honest and say that I do feel like that people maybe might have overrated it a little bit, but I still liked it and had fun with it. So, obviously, if you know what this one's about, it's about this town that has a curse where everything that has a spiral in it, like somehow affects the town in this like really weird ways. And on the surface, you may be thinking that this sounds like really, like, corny and hokey and kind of dumb, and yeah, it kind of does, but the way how they go about it is very, very creative, and I actually really like the creativity that this book has for how weird and crazy that it gets. But unlike the book that I just talked about being Innocence, though, the blood and the gore in this one is definitely much more, over the top and not realistic at all, so it's definitely not graphic in that way. But of course, as you would expect from Junji Ito though, the art style in here is still definitely amazing in its own unique way. And another thing that I really liked too was that I found the way how the panels were laid out was very well thought out. Like, there's sometimes on the end of a page, you'll have, like, a character that'll be, like, opening a door, and then they, like, react to something, but you don't see what they react to until, like, you turn, like, the page after. It was just really well done. But as much as I did have a lot of fun with this one, the reason why I do feel like that this book is slightly overrated for me is that I feel like the character writing could have been a little bit better. Because throughout most of the book, the characters, they were fine, like, there was nothing, like, wrong with them, they weren't, like, unlikable or annoying, but I also didn't find like there was really much there for me to, like, really, like, love these characters. It wasn't until the climax, towards the end, is where I was finally starting to get invested into these characters, and I was starting to like them, where I kind of wish that throughout, like, maybe, like, the first chunk of the book, I kind of wish it was like that, and then it just kept going more, but no, I kind of felt like it was towards the end was where I started to like them, and then it ended, and I was like, as soon as I started to love these characters, it had to end, like, right there. So, yeah, personally, I liked it, I enjoyed my time with it, but I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece like most people claim it to be, because yes, obviously, the art style is definitely one of the best parts about this book. I also do love the creativity that the book has, that it does do a lot of very interesting and weird things that you wouldn't expect it would, and I really like that, and the pacing was great. But I do like it enough that I do want to check out more of his other stuff, because there is a couple other books that he's done that did get my attention, and I definitely do plan on getting them at some point. So yeah, that's my off-the-cuff review of Uzumaki. It's good, I definitely do recommend it if you do want to check out some horror stuff, as it is very good and fun. But I just don't think it's on that masterpiece level yet. Like, yes, the art style is a masterpiece, but the actual story, it's not quite there, but it's close. And next up we got this huge box set of Magic Knight Rayearth, and this is only part 1 of the box set. There's 2 of them in total, but, well, as you might expect, these box sets are not cheap, and they're hardcover too, so they're fucking heavy as well. But yeah, this box set is very beautiful looking, all like the individual books are also like very beautiful. Yeah, it's just a very, very nice box set that I'm very happy to have. And yes, I love the Magic Knight Rayearth series, love the anime, love the game on the Sega Saturn. But as much as I love it all though, I surprisingly never read the manga for it, like, ever. Which is kind of surprising, because you think I would have, but I haven't. So this will be a very cool way of experiencing it through these nice hardcover sets. And hopefully someday I'll eventually get the part 2 box set. And next one we have here is Parasite, and no, this has nothing to do with the Korean movie that came years later. Though, what's funny was that when that movie was coming out and I heard people talking a lot about it, I thought they were talking about this shit. So yeah, the one thing I didn't know about this series Parasite is that it's actually pretty old. It came out in like the late 80s, early 90s, so yeah, I actually didn't know it was that old, because I know that the anime for it came out like years later. I want to say like early 2010s, I think, but yeah, so this is a horror one where it has to do with like parasites taking over people's bodies, and there's like weird, crazy body horror going on. Yeah, it sort of reminds me of the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And what's really cool about these versions of the manga is that not only does it spell out the word parasite on the spines, but also, these versions have full color, which is very rare to see in a manga. Usually there's like a couple pages that might be color if you're lucky, and then everything is black and white. So it's pretty cool that there's like a full color version of it. So once I get a few more volumes of this, it'll be a pretty cool one to experience, as I've always heard a lot of good things about it. And next we have is some more Chainsaw Man. I got 5 through 8, so I'm slowly catching up to where they got to now. I think they have 13 volumes now. But unfortunately, I haven't read volume 5 yet, but I do have a little bookmark now that tells me, like, where I've stopped throughout a series, because I started way too many series at a time, and, you know, I don't want to, like, lose my spot, so, yeah, I have that there. But anyways, though, yeah, I still think Chainsaw Man is still a very fun anime series in the modern era that I do like quite a bit. Now, I wouldn't say it's, like, the best shit ever made, but for modern standards, though, I do dig it quite a bit, and I can definitely say I like it better than most other modern mainstream animes out there. And these next ones here, I'm just going to cover all at once, for that they are all mangas that I've actually kind of picked up and talked about a lot recently, like Rooster Fighter I've talked about a lot, and I love it. I haven't read Volume 5 yet, but you know, the first 4 volumes are fucking great, love them a lot. And I got Volume 2 of Heart Gear, which I have not read yet, but Volume 1 I thought was very enjoyable, so I can't wait to get to that one. And as for Alice in Borderland, well, I loved Volume 1 so much that I ended up buying like the next like 5 volumes, so I have 6 in total, and I believe there is 9 out of the whole series, so I almost have them all already. And I can't wait to get to them, because this shit is hype. Oh, and before I move on, one other thing I do want to mention while we're here looking at this shit is that I actually did read the whole series of Dead Man Wonderland, and I absolutely loved it. I can definitely say, don't bother with the anime, just read this manga series. Trust me, it's a million times better. And now moving on down here, we have Vagabond. I finally found Volume 5, which I was really shocked by, because this shit is sold out, like, everywhere, and I managed to find it in an Indigo too, so I grabbed that shit immediately before anyone else saw it. But once I do find Volume 3, I will definitely make an effort of actually reading the first 5 volumes and see where it goes, but it definitely looks right up my alley. And then I found Volume 2 of Akira, which, you know, as again, I don't really need to say much about it, as it is pretty much a classic series, but yeah, I'm slowly getting them. And I have finally started buying some JoJo mangas. This is part 3, Stardust Crusaders. I found the first 2, which I was surprised, because most of the times when I see these JoJo mangas, I never see, like, the early mangas that much. It's always, like, the later ones. But yeah, I wanted to buy these ones because, well, obviously, not only do I love the JoJo animes, but also, I do think that Stardust Crusaders is my favorite part, and I think it would be really awesome to revisit it in manga form, so yeah, that'll be very fun to go through that. And the final manga that I got here happens to be Nausicaa Valley of the Wind. And this is yet another very nice box set that I found, and yeah, it looks very beautiful too, as you would expect, as it is a, you know, Miyazaki property. And I really love the movie a lot, and I do think it is one of my many favorites from him, so I'm very curious to know what the manga version is going to be like. And as you can see from the side here, yeah, these books are huge. Now, before we get moving on to the books, one other interesting thing I did found was that I found this strategy guide to the game Ark the Lad, so I figured I might as well just show that real quick. And yes, it's the official guide from Working Design. And it's also in hardcover too, and it's in like very, very good quality. In fact, it's actually still sealed, but I don't know if it's an original seal or if like the store that I bought it from just put a reseal like over it. I'm not 100% sure, but either way though, it's in very, very good quality, and it just looks really, really nice. And yeah, hopefully one of these days, whenever I get around to playing the Ark the Lad series, which I've been meaning to for like frickin' ever, well, this is gonna come in handy for that without having to look it up online. And I guess we're not exactly quite there yet for full-on novels. For that, we do have a graphic novel here, and that happens to be The Ambassadors. So this is from Mark Miller, and his most well-known comic before doing this was Kick-Ass. Yeah, he actually did the graphic novel for Kick-Ass before it got turned into a movie. And also similar to Kick-Ass, this one is all about, like, superheroes. And the twist for this one is that apparently someone found a way to make superheroes out of normal, everyday people, but of course they can't just give away something like that to, like, everyone, so they have to give it away to, like, certain people. And there's one character that creates a group called the Ambassadors, where they take one person from every single country, and they are going to be the superheroes that, you know, do superhero stuff and, like, fight crime and whatnot. And normally, I'm not huge into reading a lot of Western graphic novels. Like, I mean, there are some that I definitely do really like, but the thing is, I just don't go out of my way to, like, reading them a lot of the times. But I can definitely say, from what I read of this, I actually thought it was pretty cool and interesting. And also very similar to Kick-Ass, it has a lot of blood and violence in it, lots of swearing, and lots of stuff that a lot of people would consider to be edgy, but I don't know, I kind of like it in here though. I actually think it's kind of cool to get like a more like dark and gritty like superhero type one. Alright, and now we're finally into the novel section. So, the first one we got here is Shadowland from Peter Straub, and I haven't read Peter Straub yet, but I have a feeling that this one might actually be my first one I might try from him, as the idea of it does sound pretty cool. So, it's basically about these two teenage boys that they get lost into the woods and they find a mysterious mansion, and then when it goes inside the mansion is that they get teleported to this fantasy world where it goes kind of like fairy tale-like and gets kind of creepy too. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. And yeah, just from that alone, I'm definitely intrigued by this. And next we have is the final Hannibal book that I wanted, and that is the Silence of the Lambs, the most well-known one for creating one of the most popular movies of the 90s. So I don't think I need to go too much into this, as not only it's very well known, but also, you know, I even, like, talked about this shit a lot. I even compared it to frickin' Resident Evil 4 Remake, for God's sakes. Well, at least when it comes to comparing, like, the original and the remake of Red Dragon anyways, but, yeah, that book was awesome, and I definitely can't wait to read this one and wonder what it's gonna be like, because I do wonder if it does have any differences from the movie, because, you know, the movie is great, too. And next up, we got another one that I've been wanting to get my hands on, and that is James Clavell's Shogun, one of his very early novels that's about this epic feudal Japan story about a guy who gets stranded onto the oceans of Japan and now has to live the life as a samurai kind of thing. I heard they are making a new TV series based after this, which actually looks really damn good, I will say. And I know there's also an older one too, which I've never seen, and I feel like I should watch it at some point, but I definitely want to read this book first. But if you ever see how, like, huge this book is, yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get through it, so one of these days I definitely will. But yeah, this is the one book that definitely does interest me the most when it comes to James Clavell's stuff, as I have gotten a few of his books, I just haven't read any of them yet. And next up we have here is that I have some more Dresden File books from Jim Butcher, and unfortunately all these books in hardcover are like stupidly hard to get. They're all like over $200 each, and I'm just like, fuck that, I'm not paying that much for a hardcover. So now I have all these paperbacks that now look stupid on my shelf, but I guess it's better than nothing, right? But thankfully these paperbacks are a little bit bigger than your average size ones, so it's not going to be too painful to read for me. But yeah, this series I definitely do plan on starting at some point soon, and it does look like a really cool crime detective one with a lot of magic stuff. Think of Harry Potter for adults. And this next one is really cool. It happens to be the Book of Five Rings. And yes, this hardcover has a very interesting material to it. It almost feels like leather, but not quite leather. I don't know how to exactly describe it, but it feels really, really nice. And of course, this book is about like an old Japanese tale. And what's interesting too is that this book has a good mixture of text and pictures, so I guess you can say this is sort of like a light novel. So yeah, I thought this would just be a really cool piece to have and to read through it someday, as it does look like it would be pretty cool to look through it and look through all the beautiful pictures. But yeah, I think I got this out of a freaking discount bin at Indigo. And next up, I found almost a whole series of books that I used to own as a kid, being the Artemis Fowl books. I used to own the first two as a kid, but I have no idea what happened to them, and I do remember reading them, but I don't remember a whole lot about them outside of, like, the basic concept. that the main character is a millionaire who's a kid, and he ends up kidnapping a fairy, and then all this like crazy weird fantasy stuff starts happening around him. Like, I do remember that kind of stuff, and I do remember the second one took place in the Arctic. And then after that, I don't know what happens after that, but I do know that there is a book in the series called The Opal Deception, which, of course, leaves it to me to say, oh my god, it's the long-lost Deception book. It was a part of the Artemis Fowl series the whole time. But yeah, I wonder if anyone else ever read these as a kid, because I do remember them being pretty popular. And one other thing I do have to mention real quick that made me laugh was that I saw a quote from someone online that described the series as Die Hard with fairies, and I'm just like, wow, not only does that sound like way more awesome than I remember these books being, but I also don't remember anyone in this book saying yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. Alright, next up we got here is Gone Girl. Now, this is one that I've actually heard about the movie, and I've heard that the movie was really good. It actually has Ben Affleck in it, and I believe it was directed by David Fincher, and I don't remember who else was in the movie, but I have heard that the movie was, like, really damn good. And this book is also, like, amazing too, so I've always wanted to like check this one out, as I do feel that the concept is very interesting to me. It does sound like a typical crime book, but it's all about this one guy, his wife disappears, and then apparently someone tries to like frame him for like kidnapping his wife, when yet he clearly didn't do it, so then of course he has to try to like figure out like who the hell is like toying with him, and yeah, like it just sounds like a really fascinating story. And the thing that's like kind of scary about it is that a lot of the stuff in this book is, like, very, very realistic, so I feel like in that sense, it does kind of make it, like, kind of creepy. Like, kind of almost like an unsuspected horror book, I guess you could say. Alright, and as for the last two here, these are the most, like, random two books you can put together. So, first off, we got is Dean Koontz with the book Twilight Eyes, and yes, this is a paperback version, because getting a hard copy of it is, like, stupidly hard to get, and it's, like, really expensive, so I decided to just opt with this. And besides, I actually do kind of like this cover. It's kind of simple and eerie. So yeah, this one is all about a, like a haunted, carnival kind of thing, so, you know, that always, like, kind of sounds cool and creepy to me, and I've heard that this book is, like, considered, like, one of his best, too. And my reading experience with Dean Koontz has been mostly positive. Like, I liked every book that I've read from him so far, which might surprise some people, because I feel like he gets a lot of, hate from people online, but honestly, I don't really get the hate from what I've read. Granted, I haven't read everything, but still, for all the ones that I've read that came out in, like, the 80s and 90s, like, they've all actually been pretty good and solid. And then the random one I put at the end here, the very last book, is Rhapsody. Well, that's what the series is called. And no, this has nothing to do with that video game that I talked about in this video, but kind of ironic that I got a video game called Rhapsody and now we got the book. So yeah, this is a fantasy series about this girl who's like a singer, and she ends up about to be kidnapped, but she escapes and now is like on the run, and you know, like gets herself into like a huge like adventure aspect in a way that like she didn't expect to, sort of thing. So yeah, you know, kind of typical fantasy, but it does seem like it would be a fun one to just kind of like just jump right into. Also, I have to mention too, but the cover arts for these are like really awesome looking. I don't know who did the art for them, but yeah, it's really awesome stuff. And that's all the stuff that I picked up within like the last 2 months of 2023 and like the very little bit of 2024. So, with that being said, as always, if you guys know anything about any of this type of stuff or anything that you guys are like interested in, then you know, feel free to let me know and we can have a discussion about it. So, with that being said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.